Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Monday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. A Monday evening that finds the Jacksonville Jaguars with a brand new general manager. A Monday evening where the Jacksonville Jaguars and their brass are on their way to Indianapolis for the NFL Scouting Combine. A Monday evening that puts us just 2 weeks away from NFL free agency, as wild as that is to say. And, of course, a Monday that has us reacting to James Gladstone's introductory press conference earlier today down at the Miller Electric Center. First and foremost, it was a press conference in February. All right, let's get that out on the table right now. A press conference in February. Having said that, it was an impressive press conference in February. And that's where I want to begin, because the 180 degrees that this franchise has turned in the last 50 days is borderline shocking to me, based on what I saw yesterday, in a positive way. And we'll get into that in just a moment. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. The head coach, Dave Campo. Little Monday night coaching with Campo. We will react to James Gladstone as the brand new general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We will also preview the NFL Scouting Combine. If there's one guy that knows a little bit about the Scouting Combine, it's my friend Dave Campo. As a head coach, as a coordinator, as an assistant, he has spent many, many years up in Indianapolis at the Scouting Combine. So we will talk with the head coach, Dave Campo, coming up later on here on Hacker After Dark in about 15 minutes or so. Also at the top of the 9 o'clock hour, my friend Clay Harbor, former tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars, will join me to talk Liam Cohen, talk the Jaguar coaching staff, and give his thoughts on Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram and both of their futures here in Jacksonville. After we get through the combine, the big question, what about Kirk? What about Ingram, as we are 2 weeks away from NFL free agency? So a lot to do. We're glad you're with us. We're here till 10 o'clock, as we are every night on Hacker After Dark. Every night on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
All right, 50 days. It's hard to believe it's actually been that long. It doesn't feel like it, but 50 days ago, the Jacksonville Jaguars lost to the Indianapolis Colts in Week 18 to cap off a 4-13 season. 50 days, man. And think about everything that has transpired in the last 50 days with this organization. But I want to focus on one moment that actually transpired, I believe, 49 days ago to where we are now. And that was the Zoom press conference that Shad Khan and Trent Baalke held after the firing of Doug Peterson. And I remember being on social media that time and saying this was an absolute train wreck. That thing was a dumpster fire. That was ridiculous. That made the Jaguars look awful. I did not think it was a good look for Shad. It was a terrible look for Trent. The only thing anybody took out of that press conference was when Shad was asked if a coach doesn't like, Trent Baalke. That wasn't phrased that way, but essentially he was asked if a coach doesn't like the situation here, would there be changes in the front office, and Shad goes, yeah, we'd listen to him, and if we thought it was warranted, we would certainly look at it. Yeah, no kidding. Liam Cohen apparently had that thought, and 4 hours later, after he took his name out of the running, Balky was gone. So Shad was a man of his word in that department, it appears. But I thought about that press conference, or the Zoom conference, and how just bad, quite frankly, that was. And then I looked at today and the introduction of James Gladstone, sitting next to Liam Cohen, sitting next to Tony Baselli, with Shad Khan and Tony Khan and Mark Lamping there. And if that isn't a 180-degree change in a 7-week time frame, I don't know what is. That was a beautifully orchestrated press conference. Everyone said the right thing. They said what the fan base wanted to hear. Articulate, good information, completely blown away by a February press conference compared to whatever that thing was 49 days ago on Zoom with Balky and Shad. 180-degree difference. Now, will it matter win-loss-wise in September? Who knows? I have no idea. But what I do know is here on February the 24th, you as a Jaguar fan probably feel a heck of a lot better right now than you did 7 weeks ago. There is no doubt about that. Because anybody that watched those two press conferences, the one from 7 weeks ago and the one today, if you tell me you don't feel better about the situation, then I don't know what to tell you. Again, there are some of you, and I've seen it, oh, they're too young. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm taking a wait-and-see approach. And right on, more power to you. I don't blame you. This team has fed you a bill of goods time after time after time, and they've fallen flat on their face time after time after time. And I believe they know that. They're very much aware of that, which is why they're going against the grain, why they're doing things that a lot of teams aren't doing. A 34-year-old GM, a 39-year-old head coach, a 29-year-old offensive coordinator, a 42-year-old defensive coordinator, and a 52-year-old EVP of football operations. All five guys, the two coordinators, the EVP, the head coach, and the GM, are first times in those given roles. There are a lot of teams that wouldn't do that. There are a lot of teams that don't do that. But when you're 64 and 148 in the last 13 years, at this point, what do you have to lose? I see people saying, well, maybe this reminds me a little bit of Dave Caldwell and Gus Bradley in 2013. Okay. So what? Right? You hired Doug Marrone, a retread. You hired Doug Peterson, a retread. You swang for the fences with Urban Meyer. You bring in a football guy in Trent Baalke. How'd all that work out for you? How'd that do you for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years? Yeah. That's why we're in this position. You need some different here in Jacksonville. Like I told you on Friday, that should be the motto of the 2025 Jaguars. It's something different. Put that on a T-shirt. Throw that out to training camp visitors, OTA visitors, minicamp visitors. Jacksonville Jaguars 2025. It's something different. Different doesn't always mean good, but in this case, in Jacksonville, Florida, anything different is good based on what we've seen for the last 13 years. And I thought that press conference today with James Gladstone and Liam Cohen and Baselli and Shad and Tony Khan and Lamping and all the fellas down there, that was a good look for the Jaguar organization. And you should know this by now. I'm not sunshine and rainbows guy. I do not toe the Jaguar line. At least I hope you know that about me. I've been criticized many times for being too negative over the years. I'm not trying to get you to drink the Kool-Aid. I'm telling you my perspective. And my perspective, what I saw today was, again, a 180-degree difference in a positive way, different than whatever that Zoom press conference was 7 weeks ago. Direction is pointing up. The arrow is pointing up. And there's excitement in this city, and there should be, heading into the combine and, of course, heading into free agency, which is now just 2 weeks away. Let me let you hear from James Gladstone, this courtesy of our friends at Jaguars.com. James Gladstone met the media earlier today at the Miller Electric Center, and he was asked straight up what made him want to work with Jaguar head coach Liam Cohen.
Yeah, I can't say that when I think back to our time at the Rams, there was ever this idea that, hey, we're going to end up being GM and head coach side by side. But by default, because of where our roots both fall, we're aligned just in and of itself. And I think through this whole process, some of the things that really were the most alluring and exciting about this opportunity is that the leadership structure, well, it mirrors what I'm familiar with in Los Angeles. And I know that that's one that I, A, can have success in, and is, B, something that can be successful in this line of work.
I thought Gladstone's answers today were thought out. I thought that he really handled himself very well. I mean, the guy's 7 years younger than I am, right? I'm 41, and I'd like to consider myself still a reasonably young guy. He's 34, and to be up there probably the first time ever in a press conference setting like that. I don't think the director of college scouting had a lot of press conferences in Los Angeles. And I thought Gladstone handled himself terrifically. That's a tough situation. He's got to do it again tomorrow. He's in front of the media tomorrow in Indianapolis. It's a 1-2 combo in back-to-back days. But I thought for today it was absolutely terrific. And he does come from a winning culture. He helped build a winning culture in Los Angeles. And James Gladstone was asked how he takes team-building philosophy from L.A. and tries to move it down here to Duval County.
That is a great question, really layered. I'll try to be as clear and concise with my response as possible, but touch on some big picture items. I think, A, the adaptability that shows amongst the leadership group in Los Angeles, and one that we'll look to embody here, knowing that this is an ever-evolving landscape in the NFL and the importance of changing and being ahead of the curve in terms of what success looks like. I think beyond that, I see a lot of parallels to really my time with the Los Angeles Rams and the current moment in time here with the Jacksonville Jaguars, in particular dating back to sort of the inflection point in 2017 when the Los Angeles Rams were coming off a 4-win season, hired a dynamic and resilient head coach, and were able to follow that up with a successful season and successful season since. So really going to tap into all of those years of experience and the different sort of modes of operation and models that we deployed while applying here.
Again, I get the feeling that James Gladstone probably did really well on his SAT. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he might have been a 4.0 student, because he said a lot of things there and really throughout his press conference that I did a double take. But the one thing that I kept coming back to is the thought out answers, the emotion that he showed, the philosophy that he has coming from a winning organization. You know, when he talked about his family, when he talked about Les and Kara Sneed of the LA Rams and what they meant to him, when he talked to the Jaguar fans, you could see the fire that he has with the game on comment that he led his opening statement off with. Again, I'm not trying to be ultra positive Uber Jaguar fanboy guy here, all right? That's not who I am. That's hopefully not who you think I am. But for tonight, I was impressed at that press conference earlier today. I'll shoot you straight. I was impressed. That did not look like a Jacksonville Jaguar press conference over the last 13 years. We're used to seeing Dave Caldwell sit at that podium, okay? We're used to seeing Gus Bradley, and I like Gus. Gus and me had a kinship with fist pounds every time he took to the podium back in the day. I have nothing bad to say about Gus Bradley, but those press conferences were just different, man. I mean, Doug Marrone and Trent Baalke, good grief, and Doug Peterson. It was Urban Meyer. Ugh. That was not what we're used to today at the Miller Electric Center. It was refreshing because, again, go back to that word, different. It's something different. More on the James Gladstone press conference. We're going to do a lot of Jaguar talk here in the first hour or so. Again, former Jaguar tight end Clay Harbor joins me at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. We'll talk Liam Cohen. We'll talk the Jaguar coaching staff. Clay is based in Chicago, so I want to talk to him about two guys that'll forever be compared, or at least as long as they're employed. Ben Johnson versus Liam Cohen. That will be a comparison for a long, long time. How has Ben Johnson been received in Chicago? And I also want to ask Clay about his thoughts on Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram and their future here in Jacksonville. That's coming up at 9 o'clock. But coming up next, a little Monday night coaching with Campo. My buddy Dave Campo, former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Let's talk James Gladstone. Let's talk about the youth movement here in Jacksonville. And let's talk about the combine, man. Scouting combine is going on in Indianapolis. We'll talk about all of that with a guy that's been to more combines than he can probably count. My friend Dave Campo joins me next on a Monday night here in Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us. With Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Now, another classic moment in Jags history.
The Gator Bowl, 1979. More than 50,000 people in the stands. And what a statement they made that night. 50,000 people, one voice. We want the NFL.
1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. Hacker here for the best weight loss program that I've ever been on. And the results speak for themselves. Over 100 pounds down in just 10 months. I've started on the maintenance portion of Awaken 180. And the beautiful thing about Awaken 180 is you get coaching. They continue the coaching with you. You get weekly coaching when you're on the program. You get coaching as well when you start in the maintenance program. It's one thing to lose the weight, but obviously you want to keep it off. And with the guidance Awaken 180 gives you, you can do that very, very easily. Guys, if you want to change your life for yourself, for your family, do what I did. Make the call. Go to the website, awaken180weightloss.com, awaken180weightloss.com. If I can lose over 100 pounds, believe me, you can too. You could be their next success story. Trust me, Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Find Florida Gators basketball on 1010XL. Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Florida Gators. And by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Experience the high-flying action truly unlike anything on the Supercross circuit at Daytona Supercross. Saturday, March 1st. Side-by-side intensity of Monster Energy AMA Supercross on the most demanding track of the circuit. Get close to the action as riders get pushed to the limits on the Ricky Carmichael designed track. For a chance to win tickets to Daytona Supercross, answer this. Who won the 450 final Supercross at Daytona in 2024? Text the winner's last name to 641-1010 now.
For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Staying Alive, One Night of the Bee Gees comes to Jacksonville Center for the Performing Arts March 6th. A tribute like you've never seen before. Staying Alive features the songs and sights of a full Bee Gees playlist, performed live. Experience Night Fever, More Than a Woman, How Deep Is Your Love, and more live on stage. Staying Alive, One Night of the Bee Gees, March 6th at Jacksonville Center for the Performing Arts. Tickets at fscjartistseries.org.
What's happening, folks? E.T. here, and get out of the house and crush those New Year's resolutions on the beautiful trails of Clay County. With perfect weather, now's the time to explore Jennings State Forest, Mike Rose Gold Head State Park, and Belmore State Forest. And after your hike, refuel at one of Clay's local favorites, like Dalton's Sports Grill or the Corner Pocket. Clay is my home, so I can promise you my people will take care of you. Trust me, just visit exploreclay.com and share those adventures at #ExploreClay.
Denny Thompson here. You gotta check out Tyson's Showroom Home Theater with surround sound and comfy theater chairs. You can transform your living room into a cinematic experience. I can stay there to watch all my games. It's that comfortable. Call Tyson today and bring the theater experience home. Tyson Sound and Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 US Highway 17 in Fleming, Iowa.
Staying Alive, one night of the Bee Gees comes to the Jacksonville Center for Performing Arts Thursday, March 6th as part of the FSCJ Artist Series. For a chance to win tickets, text PLAYLIST to the text line covered by Lifetime Flooring at 641-1010.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. Are you tired of wrestling with your old shower curtain? Then say goodbye to the curtain chaos and hello to a new frameless shower enclosure. Wago Glass is clear, classy, and won't stick to you like a toddler at bedtime. Plus, it makes your bathroom look bigger and brighter. Upgrade your shower experience and step into style. Call me at Baker Glass and get ready to love your new glass shower enclosure. Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
Mia O'Brien here for Pro Jacks Roofing. Here at the Superstation, we talk a lot about pros. Pro football, pro baseball, pro basketball, pro sports. But if you want a true pro when it comes to your roof, you should call Mike with Pro Jacks Roofing. Mike's been in the roofing biz for well over 25 years, and when you call, you don't get a recording, you get Mike himself. Find Mike's cell on ProJacksRoofingFL.com. That's ProJacksRoofingFL.com. Don't rely on the third string option. Call in the starter with Mike at Pro Jacks Roofing.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. And just like that, the NFL Scouting Combine has arrived in Indianapolis. We heard earlier today from new general manager James Gladstone. He, along with head coach Liam Cohen, and all the Jaguars will head to Indy. On the field work begins on Thursday. But, of course, a lot of behind-the-scenes work will begin tomorrow morning. Let's talk about all of it with a man that has been to the Combine many times. He's our head coach here on Hacker After Dark. Of course, is my friend Dave Campo, the former coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Coach, how we doing, pal?
I'm doing great, Hack. How about yourself?
Coach, we're good. Thank you for the time. And all right, you and I talked a couple of weeks ago, and boy, a lot has transpired in a couple of weeks, including the brand new hire of general manager James Gladstone. The 34-year-old spent, 7 or 8 years in Los Angeles with the Rams. Your reaction last Friday, Coach, when you heard the news?
Well, I'm actually excited. He's a guy that, everybody thinks is awful young, but at the same time, he's been in the league 8 years, and he's been with a very, very successful strategy, scouting, you name it, and success with the LA Rams. I think that, that bodes well for us. When you take a guy like Nakua, and I think he was the 4th or 5th round, I can't remember which, but you take a guy like that, they're doing something right over there. And to me, they haven't had many high draft picks, so they've had to go through and get guys that are maybe a little bit under the radar for some teams. So I'm excited about it. I think just like the whole coaching staff and everything that Liam Cohen has done, there's going to be a lot of energy in the including him. And that bodes well for us, I think.
Coach, there's no doubt there's a youth movement here. They've gone young, right? A 34-year-old GM, a 39-year-old head coach, a 29-year-old offensive coordinator against Anthony Campaniles, the elder statesman at 42, the new DC. What's your thought on the youth movement that has transpired here?
Well, I like it. I do believe that there are some old-timers that can relate to players. I think that there's no question that there's some can, but there's a lot that cannot. And I think it's really important that relationships are important. And today's athlete, more than anything else, they want to feel comfortable. They want to have, somebody that they can relate to in that building. And I think going with the younger guys is probably a smart move right now. I'm looking forward to. It still comes down, Hack, to teaching and relationships. Those two things have got to be there. Once you have a good relationship with somebody, you trust them. And I think that's what, Liam Cohen has done. I knew that was the direction he was going to go because he hadn't been in the league very long, and it's hard to get guys, if they're under contract, from in the NFL. So I felt that he would go with guys that are in that tree that he's been associated with and guys that he trusts making the recommendations on guys, from McVay to LaFleur to O'Connell, Halfley. Those guys are all guys that he's had association with, and I think that's headed in the right direction. We'll find out, that's for sure.
The head coach, Dave Campo, with us here on Hacker After Dark. Coach, it's a wild scenario. Gladstone gets hired on Friday. He's off to the Combine tomorrow morning as the Combine is here. I mean, have you ever seen a situation like this?
No, that's a new one. But at the same time, he's obviously been involved in the study part of the draft and free agency with the Rams. And so, it's not like he's going in blind. I think he has a pretty good idea of where the players are and the guys that go to the Combine, who's going to stick out athletically. Those are things that he'll kind of be a part of, but it'll also give him a chance. The first 3 days, basically, actually today, because some of the place kickers and D linemen and linebackers actually report today. But the main part from Monday through Wednesday are all team interviews, medical situations as it goes forward with the different groups coming in at different times. He'll have a pretty good feel for what's going on by the time they start to work out on Thursday.
Yeah, take us through that, Coach. And again, you're such a valuable resource for us because you've lived this life. You've been to the Combine more times than you can probably count. I mean, we all see beginning Thursday the 40-yard dashes and the cone drill, and that's great. And I'm a nerd for it. I'm going to watch every bit of it. But a lot of the Combine work, a lot of the nuts and bolts of the Combine, like you said, is in the next 72 hours.
Well, of course, there's been a lot of study on film on these guys already. So what you're looking at when you look at the workouts is basically, do they athletically show in the workouts that they show on film? That's the comparison that you're looking for. But the real key to the Combine, in my opinion, is the medical situation where everybody's checked out. The interviews and the interviews take place both with the team interviews, but also individual interviews by position. And all of that is, they've already in their mind got the number of guys. And this is going to be a combination, of not just Gladstone, but Ethan Waugh is still there. I believe he's still going to be there in some capacity. And they've done their study, plus the LA Rams study. They're going to have a list of guys that they want to talk to in a team setting, and there'll be psychologists in there. There'll be all the coordinators in those meetings, but also the position coaches, have a list of guys that they're going to sit down with in a separate area and just talk about their particular position. So to me, all of those things are as important as the actual workouts. The workouts are athletically, but the film is where you see whether a guy can play football or not.
A couple of more for the head coach, Dave Campo. He's with us here on Hacker After Dark. Coach, I believe the interviews are like 15 or 20 minutes. It's kind of rapid fire. And, with where we are in the 24-hour news cycle, we've kind of seen more behind the scenes of the interview process at the Combine in recent years than we certainly did back in the day. But as a head coach or a coordinator, and you've been in that room as both, what are you looking for in those 15 or 20 minutes? When the young man comes in and sits down, again, you're throwing stuff at him left and right, I'm sure. What were some of the things you were looking for in those interviews?
Well, the first thing I want to see is the enthusiasm of the meeting. I think that, the scouts have pretty well prepared these guys for a lot of, not the scouts, but the agents, have prepared a lot of these guys with some of the questions over the years that they're going to get from just a general situation. But, in our case, we always tried to put them in situations that showed their poise. Try to get them in situations where they're a little uncomfortable, going up on the board for a few minutes and not only just saying, okay, where did this guy line up? How about all these other guys? Do you understand what the team aspect is? And, we went through that and we would, put something up there and they would explain what they were doing and this and that. And then we'd throw something at them like, okay, now they shift over here or they motion over here. What did you do? And that's the kind of thing you try to make them a little bit uncomfortable to see how they handle stress. And I think that's as important as anything. But the psychologists that you have in there, and most teams have a team psychologist, they have some probing questions to kind of see what the guy's makeup is. Those are the kind of things that you see in that meeting. And then the individual knowledge of the game is usually done by the assistant coaches when they get those guys into their individual meetings by position. And those are a little longer. Those can take a half an hour sometimes, and they just rotate between different teams. So it's almost a full day of interviews for those guys when they're in.
As far as the on-the-field work that begins on Thursday, obviously the 40-yard drill, 40-yard dash has taken on a life of its own over the years on the NFL Network. People like the cone drills and things along those lines. If you're a fan here in Jacksonville that's going to watch these things beginning Thursday, what are the most important ones that you want to watch from players that are going to be participating in those?
Well, for us with the Jaguars, I think, the bigs are important. And when I say that, I mean both sides of the line of scrimmage. I think that's going to be an area that the Jaguars are going to look at. And, the only thing that you're looking for there is how quickly guys change direction. It's all athletic. Even a 40-yard dash with the D lineman and the offensive lineman, if you're watching them as a fan, see what their 10-yard time is, because that's really where those guys stick out. If a guy is really, and when they do the 40-yard dash, they also time the 10 and the 20. So you get a picture of that, how quickly a guy can get out of his stance and get moving, because those are the kind of things you look for. Very seldom does an offensive or a defensive lineman run 40 yards. So that's not realistic with them. Now, with the skill guys, the 40-yard dash, obviously you're looking for the guys that can really run. And you could name a few guys. I'll give you a guy, the corner from Michigan, for example, is somebody that might be a look at by the Jaguars at that number 5 spot. Some people have knocked his deep speed. And, that's going to be a very, very important 40-yard dash for him. That's going to show how quickly he can accelerate. Plus, there are some drills where they start out in the back pedal, and then at a certain point, somebody gives them command, and they open up and accelerate. And that's timed as well, as far as, seeing a defensive back's ability to change from a pedal position or whatever position he's in to a full-out go. So I really think if we're looking at our guys, I'm looking more at the DBs and the interior linemen, including the tackles, because most of the tackles that they're saying are in the first round can also play guard.
Final moments with the head coach, Dave Campo. Coach, we'll hopefully have you on in a couple of weeks, right around the time of free agency, but some decisions will be made in the next couple of weeks. Let me throw a couple of them at you. James Gladstone and the staff have to figure out in the next 2 weeks the futures of Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. Look, you can save, I believe, $17 million combined if you were to release both guys. I don't think that's going to happen. Ingram would be a $6 million savings. Kirk would be roughly $11 million in savings. What is your opinion on those two, Coach?
Well, first of all, I like both of them. They're capable of helping a team win. The problem with Kirk is he's been banged up the last 2 years. That's something that is a factor when you're talking about going forward, because this is a new start. So they're going to be looking for guys with a little bit of longevity to them when they're looking at these guys. You know, they don't want necessarily a guy for 1 year, although we're in a situation with the quarterback that we have to do something relatively soon, within a 3 or 4 year span. So I certainly think that I would like to have Kirk back, but at the same time, that's going to be a decision based on a little bit of the health factor as well. With Ingram, you know, he got hurt, but in reality, he's been pretty solid. I can't see them getting rid of Ingram because I think Ingram is a guy that can get himself open and I don't like to use the term security blanket, but a guy that's really comfortable with the quarterback, and I think that's going to be an issue going forward. So they're going to make some decisions on the free agencies, the guys like Cisco and some of these guys, Scherf, the offensive guard. There's going to be some guys leaving here. There's no question about it. I kind of like both of those guys. I think there's a better chance of losing Kirk than there is Ingram.
And finally, you led me right into it. The Jaguars have about a dozen unrestricted free agents that are scheduled to hit free agency 2 weeks from today, as a matter of fact. That is crazy to think about, but only 2 weeks away. What about Brandon Sheriff? What about Andre Cisco, Coach?
Yeah, I think they're both questionable as far as whether or not they're going to be here next year. I think, obviously, it kind of depends on what's out there in the draft, what's out there in free agency, as to, you know, how aggressive you are. Those guys are going to want to get paid as well. I mean, you just can't all of a sudden, you might be able to restructure or whatever. But the biggest thing to me is they're going to be looking for what their market value is out there. I would say Sheriff is a definite no-go. They really need to get younger in the offensive line. There's no question about it. I don't really know at this point until I look a little more about what's out there in free agency at the safety position, but we definitely need to get better there as well.
Hard to believe. It is Combine Week and free agency only 2 weeks away. James Gladstone, welcome to the Jaguars, as he needs to hit the ground running as the brand new general manager. Our head coach here on Hacker After Dark is my friend Dave Campo. Coach, thank you for the time. I certainly appreciate it, pal. We'll talk again in a couple of weeks.
You got it. And I'm like you. I'm kind of a nerd. I'm going to be watching those, whatever I can watch, you know, the combine workouts, just to see who's out there. But I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Hacker.
Living life on the edge of your seat.
Are you kidding me?
Your front row seat for play-by-play.
Break it free, they're not going to catch you.
1010XL.
These days, it feels like everyone is talking about how the American dream of homeownership has become out of reach for so many of us. Well, Rocket is trying to give us more of a chance to own our homes. They're making homeownership simpler and more accessible to more people, turning renters into owners. Rocket believes that every one of us deserves a shot at the American dream. So, are you ready? Own the dream. Visit Rocket.com or call 800-4ROCKET.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, you only cost for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sunny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sunny's here. Sunny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
David Lane here, and once again, I'm happy to share news of my successful back and knee surgeries at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist. Whatever it is that's bothering you, take it from me. Simply set an appointment today at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist and let them help you get back to normal life. I'm certainly glad I did.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
1010XL celebrates African Americans who positively impacted the First Coast. I'm RJ Saunders, and I'll share Black History Month stories with you throughout February. Black History Month on 1010XL is brought to you by Instant Keys and McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging in the mirror? Fine lines, sun damage, redness? They don't have to be part of your future. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, and I can help you look and feel your best without invasive surgery or painful treatments. Imagine rejuvenating your skin in a relaxing, comfortable environment with minimal to no downtime. Smooth out fine lines, even skin tone, and restore that youthful glow. Find out how to look and feel your best at Dermagnify.com. Dermagnify.com.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. By now, everyone has heard about saving money on their energy bills. There are all sorts of things you can do to cut energy costs, but most people don't think about their windows.
But Window World knows that the biggest energy loss in almost every home is the windows. There is more energy loss from old builder-grade windows than just about anything else in your home.
You can upgrade your heating and air, your appliances. That's good too. But before you do all that, upgrade your windows to Window World's energy-efficient windows.
Window World's windows are easy to clean, energy efficient, and have the best guarantee in the business.
Window World's slogan is simply the best for less, and we mean it. You get great American-made windows, and you get to keep more of your money when you buy from Window World. Need any more reasons to buy your windows from Window World? Call them today and set up your free in-home estimate, or go online to windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less.
Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
Is your office productivity running at full speed? Advanced Business Solutions has the solution with Xerox copiers. Whether you need high-volume printing, scanning, or secure document management, Xerox copiers deliver efficiency, quality, and innovation. With features like cloud integration and mobile printing, Xerox is perfect for any modern office. Let ABS help you streamline your workflow. Veteran-owned Advanced Business Solutions.
Advanced Business Solutions.
What's the major difference between a crocodile and an alligator? The answer next.
Lightning, storms, and hurricane winds can ruin recent home improvements. Let Southern Oak Insurance review your policy today. Visit us online at southernoakins.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
While an alligator will see you later, a crocodile will see you after a while.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. When pests invade your home or business, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, they'll show up for you and eliminate pests quicker, just like they did at my house, because they care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a pest problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. That's right, Terminix it.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And ultimately, no matter what I tell you right now, we got to go prove it. And the way you build, the way you have collaboration, it starts with relationships that are built on trust. And that's what we're establishing, and that's how we'll operate moving forward. Because at the end of the day, if we keep the focus on what we're trying to achieve, which is win football games, nothing else should matter. Not our agendas, not our egos, who gets credit. I mean, that's when you get in trouble, whether it's when I was a player, whenever people start worrying about the wrong thing in the locker room, you're not going to win games. It's no different now. And so we have to go prove it. So we all believe that, and we're going to work towards that, but it starts with building relationships built on trust, and we'll be just fine.
The thoughts of Tony Baselli, the EVP of football operations for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That cut courtesy of our friends at Jaguars.com down at the Miller Electric Center earlier today. And I thought it was great the Jaguars did that. They had Shad Khan, obviously, making the opening statement. And then it was all about James Gladstone for the next 15 or so minutes. And then it was a free-for-all where you could ask anybody. You got Gladstone, Shad, Liam Cohen, Tony Baselli, Tony Khan, and Mark Lamping. All six up there. I love the picture of all six guys. I mean, that's it. That's the future of the Jaguars right there. The owner's son, who is a huge part of this organization, team president, EVP, head coach, general manager. Those are the 6 guys that are trying to get the Jaguars out of this black hole that they've been in for basically the last 2 decades. A sliver of light here, sliver of light there, but by and large, the last 20-plus years have basically sucked to be a Jaguar fan, let's be honest. And it's those 6 guys that are now in charge of trying to finally turn this thing around. And it's going to come down to collaboration, like Baselli said. I mean, look, Baselli, Liam Cohen, James Gladstone, those 3. And Baselli and Gladstone are going to try to make things as comfortable and as easy as they can for Cohen and his staff, the coaches, to do their job. And that begins with the combine. That begins with free agency. I mean, you talk about hitting the ground running, man. James Gladstone was announced as the GM 72 hours ago. He had to fly to Indianapolis after that press conference. He's meeting with national media tomorrow. In fact, Gladstone, Cohen, and I believe Baselli are all going to be on with Frangie. He's up there in Indianapolis for us on 1010XL. And then it's interview process. It's scouting players. You get back from Indianapolis, Monday next week? And then you have 1 week till free agency. 1 week. What are you going to do about Christian Kirk? Are you going to restructure? Are you going to release him? Evan Ingram, kind of the same thing. You got 12 or 13 in-house free agents you got to figure out, including Andre Sisco and Brandon Sheriff, a couple of starters that are going to hit free agency 2 weeks from today. It is wild how quick things are going to happen here for James Gladstone. Gladstone also, in meeting the media earlier today, talked about the interview process, and I do believe it was a very competitive interview process. Those guys that were the finalists, from John Eric Sullivan to Ethan Waugh to Ian Cunningham, all of them, was a lot of competition, man. There were some good candidates. In the end, Shad Khan, primarily, Tony Baselli, Liam Cohen, the fellas all thought James Gladstone was the best guy for the job. Here's Gladstone earlier today talking about that interview process here in Jacksonville.
That was pretty quick. It didn't take long. It was a great interview process, very thorough interview process. The first wave was virtual, and it included people from every department to represent and really begin engagement with whoever was going to end up being offered the position so that we could hit the ground rolling, have some familiarity, etc. And then when we got into the more intimate discussions last week here in person, we dove a bit deeper, surfaced a lot of higher level lines of thinking, but it didn't take long for me to realize that this was a really good landing spot. And technically, I don't think that Les, like I mentioned earlier, would have ever raised his hand and said, hey, it's time, unless he viewed it as a really strong opportunity to be successful.
In Denmark, we're going to call an audible here. I want to play the very first cut from James Gladstone, basically his opening statement, the journey to get to where he is now. He talks about Les Snead. And Les Snead, the GM of the Rams, was a former scout here in Jacksonville back in the early days. But when you hear James Gladstone, listen to the genuine emotion that he talks about from his journey from a high school offensive coordinator. That's where he was. He was an offensive coordinator at a high school in St. Louis, Missouri 9 years ago, to now being the general manager of a National Football League team at the age of 34. That is incredible. I mean, that's something that, I don't know, I don't want to go too wild here, but I've seen movies made for less than that, stories that aren't that good. Here's James Gladstone, again, courtesy of Jaguars.com, talking about that journey to Jacksonville.
First and foremost, Les is unapologetically himself. He offers that same luxury to anybody he comes in contact with. And that is something that, I think is one of the best things on planet Earth, to simply be able to be yourself. And that's what drew me to him, even though I was pursuing a career as a high school teacher and football coach, one that I wanted to really embark on from a young age, and pivoted to a different path simply for the sake that I could find somebody that I wanted to learn from and support. And so it's been a fantastic 9 years being able to be alongside him for that journey and really building the LA Rams into what they are today. As we transition then into this conversation around, hey, is it now time for us to consider what comes next? It was never going to be something that I brought up. It was only until he rose his hand and said it's time. And so at that point, when this became available, when he knew that it would be a match with Liam, with Tony, and everybody else that you see up here, that's when we began to accelerate sort of the progress of transitioning into the next phase and becoming a general manager.
There you go. The thoughts of new Jaguar general manager James Gladstone when he talks about Les. Again, Les Snead, the man he worked under for 9 years with the LA Rams, was kind of Les Snead's right-hand man, if you will. And I think Les Snead had a big role in this, right? I think it's cool that Les's wife, Kara, I believe is her name, has been very active on social media today, retweeting everything. You can tell how much she loves James Gladstone. And you can tell how much Gladstone is appreciative to the Snead family for what they did for him. And I think Les Snead, I don't know if Gladstone came out and said this directly. He kind of hinted at it. But I think Les Snead basically told Gladstone, hey, this is something you need to look at. If Les Snead did not think this was a good opportunity here in Jacksonville, I don't think he would have, pointed Gladstone into this direction. I think Les Snead, who's one of the most respected GMs in the business, and you can see what he's done with the Rams organization. They're a consistent winner and have a Super Bowl ring. I think he knew that this position down here in Jacksonville is a very good opportunity for one of his guys, and that's why he kind of pointed Gladstone in this direction. If Les Snead thought this situation sucked, he would not have pointed Gladstone in this direction. So that in and of itself goes to show you the merit that this GM job had, when a guy like Les Snead thinks that his right-hand man, the guy that's worked under him for 9 years, needed to pursue this. That's a pretty powerful endorsement. Finally, again, we talk about all the guys that spoke today at the Miller Electric Center. One of them was team president Mark Lamping. Mark Lamping just signed an extension that'll keep him here in Jacksonville through at least 2030. Mark Lamping obviously has done terrific things with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I do mean terrific. Lamping is a good dude, and he's a terrific president for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And obviously one of Lamping's biggest things he's got going, probably the biggest thing he's got going for the next couple of years, is the Stadium of the Future. And Mark Lamping did give an update on that earlier today.
If you look outside, you're going to see that there are some areas that are fenced off. There's some deep pile work that's going on there. You'll see a crane that's in the south end of the end zone. The work is going on. It commenced about 45 days ago, and so far, no surprises, but a long way to go.
Denmark, let's get the other Mark Lamping cut as well. Lamping was asked about the Orlando-Gainesville thing. As we know, the Jaguars are going to play full capacity here in Jacksonville in 2025, this year. Next year, 2026, it's going to be limited capacity, but the games are still going to be here in Jacksonville. And then 2027 is the year that they're not going to play here while the Stadium of the Future is being built. The thought is either Orlando or Gainesville for those home games. And Mark Lamping did give an update on that timeline and on the thought of Orlando or Gainesville earlier today.
We're probably within 30 to 45 days from submitting a report to the National Football League, which will summarize our evaluation of all the alternatives. We'll also include a recommendation. The league will receive that. They'll study that. We'll have a lot of back and forth. And if we can get to a consensus, which I'm sure we'll be able to do that, it will then go through the normal NFL approval process. It would go to committee meetings in advance of probably the May owners meeting. And then if things advance through the committee process, I think maybe by the May owners meeting, there may be something to consider. But, keep in mind the approval process for a temporary stadium is the exact same as extending a lease. So we not only have to have the league approval, committee's approval, but also 75% of NFL owners agree.
Again, all those cuts courtesy of our friends at Jaguars.com. I would be surprised if it's not Orlando. I thought the Daytona idea was intriguing down to the Speedway, but obviously that seems to have fallen off. It appears it's going to be Orlando or Gainesville. I would be surprised if it doesn't ultimately land on Orlando. That just seems logistically to be better. That's a stadium in which the Pro Bowl has been played in years past. I know that I was talking to some people, and again, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but Gainesville, there are potential issues that you wouldn't even think about. Like, the NFL has rules with the the crowd and the proximity to the field, and how, like, Gainesville, the crowd is, like, really close to the field, and that might not cut the muster when it comes to the NFL standards. Things along those lines that, again, you wouldn't even give a second thought about. But the NFL's got a lot of quirky things that they have to check off their list. And Orlando is an NFL stadium, kinda, at least for the Pro Bowl. It's a big market, a lot of hotel rooms, right? It's 2 hours from Jacksonville. If you want to get pretty ambitious, an hour and a half from Jacksonville, particularly from where I'm at in Mandarin. So it's basically the same, maybe a little farther than Gainesville, but not all that much, considering it's mostly interstate from 95 to I-4. So again, this is still 2 years away. They're playing in Jacksonville in 25. They're playing here next year with limited capacity. 27 is the year that I think it's going to be Orlando, although it could be Gainesville. And then if all things go according to plan in 2028, the Stadium of the Future, that beautiful $1.4 billion renovated Stadium of the Future, will take effect here in Northeast Florida. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We will take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night, Hacker After Dark, here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Coming up at about 9:30 at the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour, Blake Lovell. He's known as the SEC basketball guy. He hosts the Southeastern 16 podcast. Blake does a terrific job covering SEC hoops. I want to talk about Florida, obviously, with Blake. Denmark, I don't know if you saw this. The Gators have won 6 in a row. They go on the road and win a game by 14 in the conference on Saturday.
I've seen it.
And they actually fell in the AP poll from number 2 to number 3. I'm not really sure what that's about. But, yeah, that was interesting. But we'll talk Gator hoops. We'll talk SEC hoops. Is this going to be the best? Number-wise, it might be the best conference year in the history of college basketball, what the SEC is doing. If you look at the numbers, it might be. And we'll talk about that coming up at the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour. But coming up next, more on the Jaguars from a former Jacksonville Jaguar. My buddy Clay Harbor played tight end here for the Jaguars back in the day. We'll talk with Clay about Liam Cohen, about the Jaguar coaching staff, about the futures of Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, and a lot more with Clay Harbor, former Jaguar tight end. He joins me next. It is a Monday night in Jacksonville, Florida, and we're glad you're with us till 10 o'clock right here. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. That's why we're here.
It's like you said, it's all hard.
1010XL.
Don't miss the Players Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scottie Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
Hi, I'm Laura Renstrom from The Players, and we're proud to support the Boys and Girls Club on their mission to equip Northeast Florida youth with the skills and tools they need to reach their full potential. 15 days till The Players.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
If you'd like to spend your spring and summer at the ballpark, plan to attend the Jumbo Shrimps Job Fair March 15th at the ViStar Ballpark. You can learn about the positions offered at jackshrimp.com.
Your love can give pets a purpose. To adopt a loving animal from the Jacksonville Humane Society, call 725-8766. Veterans, first responders, and law enforcement officers deserve the best treatment. That's why ETMS Florida provides a free, drug-free electromagnetic treatment that helps lower symptoms of PTSD, anxiety, insomnia, and depression. Learn more at etmsflorida.com.
Caddyshack Ranch provides a safe, loving, and forever home to endangered big cats. Caddyshack, on the north side of Jacksonville, has helped lions, tigers, and endangered animals for 30 years. Learn how you can visit or help at caddyshackranch.org.
Share your community event at 1010XL.com, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach, WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
When you need a mechanic you can trust, call Sam, Harry, or Joe at AA Automotive on Richard Street. From oil changes to complex engine repairs, AA Automotive promises expert service and honest pricing from a local family biz. AA Automotive on Richard Street.
If someone you love needs a pick-me-up, then it's time to get serious about it. And send them a Kuhn floral arrangement. ET here with 1010XL. You'll be assured of a quality delivery, that's for sure. Log on and order online at kuhnflowers.com.
Staying Alive, One Night of the Bee Gees comes to Jacksonville Center for the Performing Arts March 6th. A tribute like you've never seen before. Staying Alive features the songs and sights of a full Bee Gees playlist, performed live. Experience Night Fever, More Than a Woman, How Deep Is Your Love, and more live on stage. Staying Alive, One Night of the Bee Gees, March 6th at Jacksonville Center for the Performing Arts. Tickets at fscjartistseries.org.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Yo, 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 it's your boy E to the T here, and I know that getting into an accident is stressful, but getting the proper care doesn't have to be. That's why I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. Even if you're at fault, your insurance covers you. And remember, you have the right to choose your own doctor. Even a minor accident can cause whiplash for years if it goes untreated. So don't wait. Call the auto accident experts at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Your recovery starts today.
Did you know your pup could take 30,000 to 60,000 steps a day at Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard? That's a whole lot of tail wagging fun with their best furry friends. At Dogtopia, they turn playtime into exercise, learning, and socialization in their off-leash, open play environment. Dogs build confidence, reduce anxiety, and stay happy and healthy, all while having the time of their lives. Visit Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard today.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, what a 6-week period it has been for the Jacksonville Jaguars, from the dismissals of Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke, the hiring of Liam Cohen, a complete coaching staff, Tony Baselli, now the EVP of football operations is going to be. There is a lot to get into, and with that, let's welcome in a former Jacksonville Jaguar. My buddy Clay Harbor played tight end many years in the NFL, including right here in Jacksonville, and Clay is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Clay, how we doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. You know, it's with football season. The Super Bowl ends a couple weeks ago. One of my other former teams ended up winning that Super Bowl, but there's never a dull moment. Obviously, we got the Combine coming up this week, next week, and then free agency, and obviously the coaching carousel and GM carousel is coming to a close, but one big hire left, and that's with the Jaguars.
Yeah, it's been very, very wild here in Jacksonville, as you can imagine. All right, it wasn't the cleanest process by any stretch of the imagination, but your overall thoughts on the way it landed with Liam Cohen being the brand new head coach here in Jacksonville?
Like you said, the ends to me justify the means, and I'm not worried about all the drama that happened with the Bucs. What I am worried about or care about is the fact that I think Liam Cohen is the right guy for the job. I love Doug Peterson. I played with him. He was on the staff in Philly as a quarterback coach when I played there. Great guy, great teacher, but it was time to move on for whatever reason. It wasn't working out, and I think they moved on to the right guy. I love Liam Cohen. He was a longtime assistant for Sean McVay. He was in Kentucky. He had a ton of success with Will Levis, ended up creating him to be a player that was taken high in the draft. Obviously, now in the NFL, he's not playing so well. But you saw what he's able to do with the Buccaneers. He turned them into a top 5 total offense, scoring offense, rushing offense, passing offense, top 5 in third down, and red zone touchdown percentage. And when I look at that, what did Jaguars struggle in? All of the above. He's a guy that helped Baker Mayfield reach his career highs. He worked with him briefly in LA, but this last year, Baker Mayfield set highs in completions, completion percentage, passing yards, and passing TDs. The team went from the worst statistical rushing team in 2023 to the 4th best, going from 88 yards per game to 149.2 yards per game. So what that says to me, this guy just knows offensive football. He's a guy that knows how to work with quarterbacks. He's a guy that is smart. He tailors his offense to his quarterback. He doesn't try to fit a system into a quarterback. He fits a quarterback into a system. So I think he's going to make Trevor better by eliminating some of the things that Trevor doesn't do well and really emphasizing the things that he does do well. I know he doesn't know how to say Duval right. I think he got a second chance at that, but I really do like this hire.
Clay Harbor here with us, former Jaguar tight end. You have a great perspective on this from your time in the league, certainly. 39-year-old head coach, a 29-year-old offensive coordinator in Grant Udinski, a 42-year-old defensive coordinator in Anthony Campanile, a number of guys in their early to mid-30s and early to mid-40s on the staff. They've gone young here, Clay. There's no doubt about that. How do you think that'll translate?
Well, for all intents and purposes, we know Liam Cohen is going to be the offensive coordinator. He's going to call the plays. He's going to create the game plan. So as far as the offensive coordinator is concerned, he basically needs someone to take care of the administrative things. And I think that falls perfectly within the capabilities of his hire. Defensively, I like the hire as well. I think it's a young guy, but I think he's a guy that's been around the league. He commands respect. He's going to bring a fresh new perspective on things, and that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing. I think that can help because there is a ton of talent on this Jaguars defense. I liked Ryan Nielsen, but for whatever reason, that defense was just bad. And I think a new system, a new defense will breathe fresh life into this Jaguars unit that, like I said, does have a lot of talent. You still got these big boys on the defensive line. You could use a couple extra pieces. But overall, I think that pieces are in place for them to make a run at a weak AFC South.
Being a former Jaguar player, you're obviously very familiar with Tony Baselli. He's now the EVP of football operations. And one of the things I love about that, Clay, is that Tony did not need that job by any stretch of the imagination. He had more than enough going on personally, professionally. Tony wanted this job. He wants to be a part of turning this organization around. And I think that matters, does it not?
Absolutely. And I look at what the Lions did. And, they brought in Chris Spielman to be a guy there that's obviously in play for them and does a lot of the things for the Lions now. And I think that's good. Somebody who knows this organization, not just football, but knows the organization, knows the history, knows what the fan base has been through, and a guy that obviously knows ball. We're talking about a Hall of Fame offensive lineman here. I've got the pleasure of meeting Tony. I think he's a very intelligent guy. I think more teams should do stuff like this. I mean, a guy like him with his experience, he's going to be able to help with players. He's going to be able to help with coaches. He's seen success. He's seen failures. He's seen a lot of different things, and he is going to be a guy that you could just grab the ear of. They'll always have a good perspective, a player's perspective, a guy that has the Duval perspective as well. So I think that's a great hire. I think Tony will do a great job. I think more teams should do it. I think here in Chicago, where I'm at, they need to find a player, a former Bears guy that could come in and also help out with situations like they're doing with Tony Baselli.
You know, it's interesting as we wind down with Clay Harbor here on 1010XL. We talk about Chicago and Jacksonville, two teams that you're very familiar with. The two teams that have kind of stolen the headlines, right? Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, all the news that Chicago has made, all the news that Jacksonville has made. And at least in these parts, that's always going to be the comparable because people still don't know if Trent Baalke cost the Jaguars Ben Johnson. We know he almost cost him Liam Cohen. We figured that out pretty quick. There are some people here that'll tell you Cohen was 1 and 1A with Johnson. But regardless of all that, your thoughts on the Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen comparisons? And I imagine up there in Chicago, they got to be pretty pleased with Ben Johnson so far.
Oh, yeah, they're very pleased with Ben Johnson. He's obviously had a top 5 offense the last 3 years. What I look at is what can he do with a quarterback? And you look at Jared Goff coming from Sean McVay's system, 5 years in Sean McVay's system. He comes from Sean McVay over to Ben Johnson. And Ben Johnson takes Jared Goff, a cast-off, a guy that they basically just ran out of L.A. thinking he couldn't win. And you see Jared Goff, he went from his 5 years in Detroit, he had a 90 passer rating. In Detroit, his 5 years in LA had a 90 passer rating. And you go to Detroit, he has 100 passer rating. He has less interceptions. He has more touchdowns. And why does that happen? Because Ben Johnson broke down the offense to the studs, sat in a room with Jared Goff, and came up with the things that he likes to do. He said he's going to do the same thing with Caleb Williams. And that's why Shane Waldron didn't have success. Shane Waldron came in and dropped down the Geno Smith Seattle Seahawks playbook. And Caleb Williams is not Geno Smith. Caleb Williams has a lot of talents. He has a lot of things that he could do better. But he's got a lot of things that he needs to improve. And I think Ben Johnson is going to put him in situations. He's going to throw out the things that he doesn't do well, really emphasize the things that he does. And obviously we've seen the success, the creativity that he's had in Detroit. So everybody's excited. And the more you get to know him, the more you see he is a guy that can stand in front of a room. And that was a question about him. He's a guy that is a fiery guy. So you love that. Other thing I love is the staff he put together. Being able to bring in Dennis Allen, who's a former head coach for several years, obviously, with the Saints. Not great at a head coach, but a defensive coordinator. Nobody can deny this guy's a top-level defensive coordinator. So he will be the head coach of the defense. Ben Johnson will be the head coach of the offense. And I think it'll be a perfect marriage just because Ben knows what he doesn't know. And the first thing he talks about in his press conference is delegating. He's going to delegate the defensive stuff to Dennis Allen. He's going to delegate a lot of things to his position coaches. And what you see with the staff that he put together was a lot of experience and a lot of former players. The assistant head coach, wide receivers coach, Antoine Randall. You look at the defensive backs coach, Al Harris, the defensive passing game coordinator, Al Harris. These are guys that have experience coaching, but also playing. And I think as a player, I always loved when my coach played the game. It was a lot easier to relate to, and I always had the most success with those guys, as I think most players do. And how do you become more successful as a franchise? Your players become more successful with better coaching.
Yeah, it's interesting. Shane Waldron ended up down here on Liam Cohen's staff. Press Taylor ends up there on Ben Johnson's staff. So you're still there. It's still tied together. Final question, Clay. We got about 90 seconds, and we'll hopefully have you on post-free agency to kind of recap all this. The Jaguars could save about $17 million if they were to release Christian Kirk or Evan Ingram. Kirk about $11 million in savings, Ingram about $6 million. Is that something you would be interested in if you're Jacksonville, or do you think those guys are too vital to let walk out the door?
Yeah, I'd be interested in it, but I would need to see the replacements. I like Evan Ingram, but it depends what kind of offense you're trying to run out there in Jacksonville. If you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I don't think they had a player like Evan Ingram. You know, he's a tight end by trade, but he's more of a joker. If they need more of a blocking guy, yeah, get rid of him. Bring in a guy that can do more things, and you don't have to send him out to block safeties or cornerbacks, and you can put a guy in line. And then Christian Kirk. He's aging. I like Kirk, but it just seems like he's not staying healthy. And with Brian Johnson's emergence, you already do have that number one. And this is a deep receiving class in the draft. Not so deep in free agency, but I still think you can find some bargain guys out there. So it depends what Liam Cohen wants to do with the offense.
Former Jaguar tight end Clay Harbor. Clay, I know you're busy. Thank you as always for the time, pal. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, Ryan.
A symphony of sweat, grit, and glory. Dive into the action and live the moments. For play-by-play, it's 1010XL.
Welcome, John, our new admin lead.
Thanks.
You've got your laptop, all your admin apps. Oh, and you'll be in charge of ordering food for the team. So here's your drawer full of menus.
Whoa.
You'll keep your receipts in this file folder. Whoops, receipt confetti.
Oh, dear.
Oh, and all these sticky notes have everyone's dietary preferences.
Have you tried Easy Cater? Online ordering from great restaurants, tools to save time and stay on budget, digital receipts in one place.
We're gonna need a bigger recycling bin.
Easy Cater, the smarter, simpler way to order food for your workplace. Order now at easycater.com.
When it rains, it better drain. If storm drains on your commercial property aren't doing their job, this is a major liability that needs to be corrected. Call Duck Duck Rooter to have your storm drains jetted and cleaned with our powerful vac con truck. We'll clear the way for better drainage. Call 904-862-6769. Visit duckduckrooter.com. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jags. Duck Duck Rooter, your fully insured certified plumbing and underground utility contractor.
What could you do with an extra $75,000 right now, or even a couple $100,000? If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with Loan Pronto. Hey, Prosser here. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold hard cash, so you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisals. Listen, the average homeowner now has over $300,000 in equity. That's your money. Use it. One client got $150,000 out and paid off all their credit cards, 2 car loans, and a personal loan, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. You can get approved in as little as 1 day, so act now with no hard credit pull up front. LoanPronto.com or 904-999-1508. Get the money you need for anything at 904-999-1508 or just go to LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166171, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
PRP treatment is kind of the thing these days, and in many cases, it eliminates the need for surgery. This is Sheridan Tootin, and my experience with PRP from Southeast Orthopedic Specialist has been nothing short of great. I'm really feeling much better now. Ask your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist doctor about PRP treatment.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where athletes are treated like pros.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
The Frangie Show will be live from the new Duo Restaurant and Lounge on Bay Meadows Road this Thursday the 27th. Join us for their happy hour from 4 to 6 with food and drinks inspired by the Mediterranean. Plus, your chance to win Duo gift cards.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Marion with Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville here to say hello, and we'd sure like to have your business.
You know what? They're going to love the king of price.
My dad believes in making great deals and having a great selection in stock.
Cadillac XT4s, XT5s, and XT6s, and Escalades.
The all-electric Cadillac Lyriq.
CT4s and CT5s.
Cadillac luxury and selection is just waiting for you.
At Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
And don't forget, tell them Jennifer sent ya.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
Life is about choices and the decisions you make. I'm David Robbins with Epstein & Robbins. If you're convicted of a DUI, you'll have to face severe consequences. Walking through the doors of the courthouse or appearing at a bond hearing can be extremely intimidating. Without the right lawyer, you're likely to make the wrong decision. Let our team help you make the right decisions in court. Epstein & Robbins, the right choice.
Epstein and Robbins, fighting for your rights since 1975.
Cannonball!
Honey, someone's in our pool.
Oh, refreshing.
John, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Dave. Seeing as how me and the guys at Clearwater Irrigation reinstalled your sprinklers after the pool contractor ripped it out, I thought you wouldn't mind if I took a quick dip.
But in a Jaguar print Speedo?
Yeah, Dave. My bad.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
When it comes to towing products, your safety is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
New and pre-owned firearms are in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimber, Smith & Wesson, 6 Hour, Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Only at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Ackerman Urology is now servicing the World Golf Village area. If you have elevated PSA, prostate, bladder, or kidney issues, plan to see the experts at Ackerman Urology right away. Their new location off I-95 at International Golf Parkway.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
21 minutes after the 9 o'clock hour. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night. Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. I will tell you, hopefully tomorrow, I think it's going to happen, the play-by-play voice of the Los Angeles Rams, JB Long, is scheduled to join us. JB's my guy when it comes to the LA Rams, and we're going to get JB on to talk about Liam Cohen and his time out there with the Rams, but obviously as well James Gladstone and what he meant to that Rams organization. So not trying to jinx it, but I think we're good. JB Long, the play-by-play voice of the LA Rams, will join us tomorrow night here on Hacker After Dark. I did want to tell you as well some college basketball, some local college basketball that has gone final. North Carolina is about to beat Florida State. It's all but a final. Carolina up 10, under a minute to go. So Leonard Hamilton and Florida State are going to fall tonight to the Tar Heels. And in the Atlantic Sun, keep in mind, I believe the Atlantic Sun tournament begins like next Monday. They are the first conference tournament to go, so they are winding down the regular season. A couple of games tonight. Locally, JU, a big victory over Eastern Kentucky, 59-55. That puts JU currently fourth in the A-Sun standings, which I believe would mean a first-round home game in the conference tournament. And North Florida, hard-fought game tonight, but they fall down to Florida Gulf Coast, 86-82. UNF currently in the 8th spot for the A-Sun tournament. Not a spot you want to be in. That means they basically have to play like a play-in game, sort of, just to get into the field. So that is not a good thing, obviously. But yeah, UNF does have the city bragging rights, beating JU twice this year. But JU has done much better in conference play. Again, JU a winner tonight over Eastern Kentucky. UNF falls to Florida Gulf Coast. The Atlantic Sun Conference Tournament right around the corner. Speaking of college basketball, Blake Lovell, host of the Southeastern 16, that is a daily SEC podcast. Blake is kind of known as the SEC basketball guy this time of year. He does a really good job with that podcast. He's going to join me coming up here in about 10, 15 minutes or so. And we're going to talk a little SEC hoops. Quite frankly, this might be the best season for one conference in the history of college basketball. We had Jerry Palm on CBS Bracketology a couple of weeks ago, and he basically brought up that I believe 1991's Big East, 7 of the 9 teams made the NCAA tournament, which was good enough for like 78% or some number. which percentage-wise was the most teams from one conference to ever make the NCAA tournament. And that has never been broken. The SEC can break that this year if they get 13 of the 16 in. And right now, across the board, almost every bracketology has them with at least 12 in. Some have 13, and if they do get 13, it would statistically be the best year for any conference in the history of college basketball. And, of course, Florida is one of the tops on that list. Boy, that's a tough deal on Saturday. They went into LSU, jumped out to a really quick start, but then they couldn't score. It was like a Tennessee reenactment from Knoxville. LSU's hitting everything. LSU's up 6 at the half. And you're down 6 on the road. Things aren't going your way. That's some adversity, man. I talked about that on the Gator Bites podcast last week. I wanted Florida to face a little adversity, and they did. And they responded to it with flying colors. They outscored LSU by 20 in the second half on the road to coast to a 79-65 win. Florida now sits at 24-3 on the year. They are 11-3 in the Southeastern Conference. Yet, amazingly, and I do mean this, amazingly, despite winning 6 games in a row, they fell in the AP poll today from number 2 to number 3. Go figure. But on the good news side of things, Todd Golden basically inferred today that barring any setbacks, Alex Condon will return to the lineup tomorrow when Florida plays Mike White and the Georgia Bulldogs up in Athens. Of course, you'll hear that game right here on 1010XL. So as if Florida needed any more help, now they're getting Alex Condon back to go with Will Richard and Walter Clayton and Elijah Martin and Thomas Houck. Boy, Thomas Houck, that guy is a beast. And do you realize Thomas Houck had one SEC offer? One. And that was from the Florida Gators. An absolute coup by Todd Golden to get that guy from the state of Pennsylvania, as he is phenomenal. And you combine he with Han Lockton, with Ruben Shinaloo and Alex Condon. And heck, when Sam Alexis gets back, they're going to have 5 bigs they can rotate in the tournament. You got 5 guards with Clayton, with Martin, with Aberdeen, with Richard, and with Klobuchar. So a 10-deep rotation for maybe the best team in college basketball. And Alex Condon looks like he will return to the lineup tomorrow night in Athens. But let's talk about Florida. But let's spend some time on Auburn and Alabama and Tennessee. How many number 1 seeds will the SEC get? And is this really the best year for any conference in the history of college basketball? We're going to talk about all of that with the SEC basketball guy, Blake Lovell. He is the host of the Southeastern 16 podcast, and he joins us next on a Monday night in Northeast Florida with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us right here on Hacker After Dark. It's 1010XL, and it's 92.5 FM.
Now, Studio Talk with Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
You look great, Grandpa.
So you're that guy.
There's always one.
Right up till there's not.
The Drill.
It's a shame you have to leave so early. You know, you really are the life of the party.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Hacker here, thinking I did something spectacular, dropping 123 pounds. But then Steve pops in and dropped a whopping 150 pounds with Awaken 180 weight loss.
I got started because I was sick and tired of just being sick and tired all the time. Wanted more from life, and I knew that at my size, I wasn't being who I could be, who I want to be for not only myself, but for my wife. And I was like, something has got to change, and it's got to start soon. I mean, the program is so easy. Everything is really written down for you on your first day. Having someone there to help you and also keep you accountable, just having that someone to talk to, and even the fact that Awaken 180 offers free maintenance for life is amazing, because keeping the weight off is a lifetime commitment.
A lifetime commitment is what you'll receive with Awaken 180. 25 pounds like Dempsey, 40 pounds like Matt Hayes, or maybe it's over 100 pounds like Steve and me. Awaken 180 will get you there online at awaken180weightloss.com.
No matter what the reason, sending a floral arrangement from Kuhn Flowers always works. For unique and special gifts, visit their showroom on Beach Boulevard. Dylan Denmark here with 1010XL. Kuhn Flowers is my go-to and should be yours. Online at kuhnflowers.com.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Experience the high-flying action truly unlike anything on the Supercross circuit at Daytona Supercross. Saturday, March 1st. Side-by-side intensity of Monster Energy AMA Supercross on the most demanding track of the circuit. Get close to the action as riders get pushed to the limits on the Ricky Carmichael-designed track. For a chance to win tickets to Daytona Supercross, answer this. Who won the 450 Final Supercross at Daytona in 2024? Text the winner's last name to 641-1010 now.
Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, congratulating our Scholar Athlete of the Week.
Danielle Paul, senior basketball player and track and field athlete at Mandarin High. Danielle is a member of the Student Athlete Leadership Team and the National Honor Society. Congratulations, Danielle.
Jacksonville, get ready to spice up your night at One Night Taco Stand. Every Taco Tuesday, enjoy their mouth-watering tacos for just $2.99 and get your weekend started with 2-for-1 house margaritas. Find fresh Mexican street food, stiff drinks, and fun vibes at One Night Taco Stand with 3 Jacksonville locations in Mandarin, Orange Park, and Southside at Bay Meadows.
Your new roof from Universal Roof and Contracting can help save a life. Percentage of every new roof this month will go to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. St. Jude's is leading the way. The world understands, treats, and defeats childhood cancer and other life-threatening diseases. Call 855-ROOF-HELP or visit universalroof.com to schedule your free roof inspection. This promotion ends February 28th. Universal Roof and Contracting, protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 125884.
Yo, E.T. here. Now you looking for some good food, outdoors fun, and plenty to do? My old stomping grounds in Clay County is the place to be. Check out Clay's diverse local restaurants. They have barbecue, seafood, and Latin restaurants that hit the spot. Paddle alongside the scenic waterways. Cast a line or hit the trail. And the events. There's always something to do for you and the fam. Check out exploreclay.com to plan your next adventure. And when you do, make sure you hashtag ExploreClay on social.
The housing market is as busy as ever on the First Coast. And if you've moved in or moved on, make sure you have a team of trained electricians ready to help. American Electrical can make sure you're up to date electrically and maximize your living experience. Smart home automation services, home theater systems, outdoor and dock lighting, and backup generators. American Electrical can do it all. A team you can trust with highly trained technicians ensuring you have the best living experience. American-Electrical.com, a leader on the First Coast and powered by professionalism.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. When pests invade your home or business, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, they'll show up for you and eliminate pests quicker, just like they did at my house, because they care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a pest problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. That's right, Terminix it.
Denny Thompson here. If you haven't heard, Tyson Sound & Security has a house built right inside their showroom, showcasing complete home automation and security systems. You have to see it to believe it. This setup can recognize intruders who approach your door and alerts them to leave if there's a break-in. Keep your family safe with the most state-of-the-art technology. Tyson Sound & Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming Island.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
On 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Florida and Georgia on the hardwood tomorrow night as the Gators go into Athens, now at 24-3 on the year. Of course, you'll hear that game right here on 1010XL. how did Florida become one of the best teams in America, and how did the Southeastern Conference become the best college basketball conference in America? And it's not really even close. Let's talk about it with the SEC basketball guy, Blake Lovell. He is the host of the Southeastern 16. That is your daily SEC podcast. And Blake is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Blake, how you doing, man?
Yeah, doing well, Ryan. Good to talk to you.
Hey, Blake, we always appreciate it. And let's start right at the top. It always means more on the football gridiron, or it just means more. Boy, hardwood, it means the same, if not more as well. My gracious, this conference now, not even a question what the best conference in college basketball is.
Yeah, it is for sure. And like you mentioned, I think if you're going to look back at the historical numbers for the SEC this year, and yeah, it's going to go down as probably the best single season we've ever seen from a college basketball conference. When you look at all the advanced metrics and all that, whether it's Ken Pom or any of the others, I mean, just the strength is undeniable when it comes to the league this year, you know, with a likelihood, I think, of landing 11 or 12 teams in the NCAA tournament. And yeah, I mean, I think really it's not even just the overall picture of the SEC. I think it's also looking at the strength at the top and seeing, you know, that they do have the two best teams in the country right now in Auburn and Florida. You've got number one seed potential with Alabama, Tennessee. You know, look at what A&M and Missouri are doing and so forth. That just kind of shows you, I think, just again, how strong the league's been this year. And when you compare it to other conferences, it's pretty wild to see kind of the gap that exists between the SEC and everyone else.
Blake, is it NIL? Is it, you know, just all these different universities putting more and more resources into the basketball program? I mean, it's been pretty striking how fast this conference has gotten as far as big in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is, like, you know, it probably started gradual where, I don't know, 2015, 16, somewhere in there, I think you started to see the SEC make it very clear. The late Mike's Live, I think, sort of started that. Greg Sankey's carried it forward to basically say, look, if you guys want to be good at basketball, which we think we need to be as a conference, you've got to start putting more into it. And I think you've seen that dedication from schools and everything. So you had that gradual start. But now, as you just said, I think it's sped up just based on the fact that it's the transfer portal era, it's NIL, and combining those two things together, we know, you know, I'd love to see the numbers of the actual ones that are reality of how much that some of these SEC programs are able to put into their basketball NIL and all these other things. And I think that is making a difference when you look at it from that standpoint. I mean, it helps to have a great coaching roster like we currently have in the SEC, but also we can't lie and act like the NIL doesn't matter. And I think that's where you're seeing the SEC. It just means more, right? Well, it definitely means more right now, I think, in terms of the resources that are being put in all over the place in this conference. And I think that's certainly made a difference, especially to put together, you know, a season like this that, like I mentioned, is going to go down in the books.
Blake Lovell is the host of the Southeastern 16. That is your daily SEC podcast, and he's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Blake, I think when Walter Clayton Jr. and Will Richard tested the NBA waters after last season and both decided to come back, I think at that point, most Gator fans knew that, okay, Florida was going to be decent, right? They're coming off a 24-12 campaign. They get Clayton and Richard back. They thought they were going to be pretty good. But 24-3 and ranked number 2 in America, Blake, I'm not sure if any Gator fans saw this.
Yeah, I understand why, because like you said, I mean, I think you could have came into the season being like, they're going to have one of the best guard groups in the country with Clayton and Martin and Richard. And, you know, you figured that they would kind of look at the front court, knowing Micah Hand-Logden. We didn't think he'd play all season. Of course, he just came back. And you're like, okay, how do you replace some of those guys from last year? A Zion Pullen, a Tyrese Samuel, Hand-Logden's out injured. What are we going to get from this front court? And we knew there was the potential that you could have some of these guys break out. And that's exactly what's happened, I think, in seeing the kind of year that Alex Condon's had. Look at Thomas Houck. I mean, he has been kind of the story, I think, of the past several weeks at least. I mean, this guy has gone from being what we thought may just be a role player on this team to, quite frankly, looking like one of the best players in the SEC in terms of his consistency. And then it's like the same sort of things, whether it's Aberdeen, Clavsar, Chinyelu, like all of these guys, they've all kind of had their own breakout seasons at different times throughout the year. And I think that's been the difference, is you go from being a team where we had question marks about certain things, whether it's okay defensively. I remember back after that first game at Kentucky, they give up 106. And I can't tell you how many people told me that they're never going to go anywhere because they just can't guard. And I look back at that now, and I'm like, well, you got a top 7 defensive team in the country. Is Florida. They're one of the best offensive teams out there. They do so many things well from a rebounding perspective. They are the complete package. And I, have said this over the past week now. Absolutely, Auburn undeniably has the best resume in college basketball. There's no debate about that. But if you're asking who's the best team in the country right now, I think you could very well make that argument that it's Florida, just because not only winning at Auburn, but just the way they've been playing. I'm not sure there's anyone that I would take over Florida on a neutral court right now, maybe outside of Auburn. I just think they're that good.
Yeah, you won't get a lot of arguments from people in Northeast Florida here, no question about that. And one of the interesting things, Blake, as the season has gone along, look, they played an 8-man rotation for the longest time, and I was of the opinion that as long as those 8 guys stayed healthy, they'd be pretty good. But then all of a sudden, Walter Clayton missed a game, and Martin missed time, and now we've had Alex Condon and Sam Alexis miss time. You mentioned Klavchar and what he's given to him off the bench, but then Micah Hanlockton, you want to talk about making like an in-season trade, an NBA in-season trade. That's what it feels like Florida made, getting their starting center back, one of the best offensive rebounders in the conference last year, getting him back now. In about a month's time, Florida went from what I thought as being a pretty thin team to maybe one of the deepest teams in the league.
Absolutely. And I think that depth is, we were making that same argument about Auburn. It was like, well, the reason Auburn is going to have a chance to be this team that is kind of pacing, the way here is just because their depth. They just have so many guys you feel like they can turn to at any time. And now you're looking at it from Florida's perspective and saying, well, maybe we thought Auburn was the deepest team in the country, but if you're talking about a fully sort of formed and fully healthy Florida team, they may be the team to beat just because of those things that you said. And I think that is the difference, right? How many times in a season are you going to get a guy that was your starting center? Think about our expectations. Before that game in Nashville last year, I'm sitting there 10 feet away, and I see the Hanlockton injury. We're thinking ahead like, man, this guy next year, can you imagine what this team could look like? Can you imagine the season he's going to have? And then to kind of have that brutal blow, but then to be able to get him back now, it is like they were playing so well, and now you get a guy like that back into the mix, and you're sitting here wondering, are they really going to get better from here? And it looks like they probably are, just because of how well they've been playing, like we said, over the stretch here. So, and I also keep going back to this. I'm thinking, we look at the record and people are just going to say, all right, yeah, that's 24-3. They're fantastic. But if you really think about it, they're 3 possessions away from maybe being, 26-1 right now. I know we can play that game with a lot of teams, but really they lose by 6 to Kentucky. They lose the game at home to Missouri by a point. The Tennessee game, sure, that was a stinker. There's no doubt about it. But this team has probably, from a consistency standpoint, like I said, outside of Auburn, been the team that really you just cannot deny in terms of just the overall consistency they've had this season.
A couple more for Blake Lovell, host of the Southeastern 16. That's your daily SEC podcast, and Blake is with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Blake, I want to talk about Todd Golden because, look, when Billy Donovan did what he did here, back-to-back national championship wins, 4 Final Fours, I don't think anybody ever thought Florida basketball would get back to that after Donovan left. And have they gotten back? No, but I'm of the opinion that a lot of Gator fans probably thought they weren't going to be competing for the number 1 spot in America, and we're never going to compete for a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament again. And Todd Golden has got them there in less than 3 years, as he's in his 3rd year as a coach. What does that say to a guy that was so young and is still so young, but has gotten Florida back to this point in just 3 short seasons?
Yeah, he's done a tremendous job. There's no question about it. And look, whenever Florida went out and made the hire that they did, I know initially it was like, well, he was one of the hottest names on the board in terms of just, knowing what he had accomplished at San Francisco. You knew he had been someone who learned under Bruce Pearl and all those things. But I think when you looked at it from the perspective of, hey, anytime there's a coaching search, we're always going to go out to the biggest names that are out there, the guys who are at other power conferences and everything like that, because you put it in perspective there. You're trying to find someone who is basically, in that position that was very unenviable for Mike White to be able to have to be the guy who followed a Billy Donovan. But now you're like, okay, can you be that next guy who comes in and tries to get this program back to those Billy Donovan type days? And like you said, that was going to be a challenge for a guy that's as young as Todd Golden, and wondering, can you really sort of navigate things a bit to get them where they needed to be? But that first season, there were lots of trials and tribulations in that one. They go 16-17. You're thinking, all right, come on, can they really start to turn the corner here? And now you started to see the way last year. I think they finished the season, especially, having that great run in the SEC tournament. I know it was disappointing to lose that first round game, but now and turn into a year like this where they are one of the national title favorites at this point. That's where, again, if you're chasing that feeling that Billy Donovan brought to the program, this is as close as it's been since then, just because this does feel like a team. Like I said, right now, if you played the NCAA tournament today and said, give me your national championship pick, I'd have to see the bracket, but I'd have a hard time probably picking against Florida if I thought they have some favorable matchups along the way. That's just what Todd Golden's accomplished. He's put together a roster, I think, that understands in this era what you need to be successful. And for the defensive flip, the way they've done it from last year to this year, that's been the biggest difference. They've been a great offensive team, but to flip it defensively to where they're one of the best in the country now, that's why they're a national title contender.
Blake, final question. 68 teams will get picked on Selection Sunday, which is less than 3 weeks away. I think clearly 11, like you said, maybe 12, outside chance of 13 SEC teams will be in the field. Of the SEC teams that make it, who can win the national championship?
Yep, I think it's Auburn. I think Florida can win it all. I think, believe it or not, I know this team has kind of been a little up and down here recently with a couple of their results. I think Alabama still has the ceiling of a team that, even though their defense, may be an issue at times, we said the same thing last year and they got to the Final Four. And statistically, their defense is much better this year than it was last year. They're still a top 3 offensive team. And I think that's what's interesting, Ryan. I mean, those are probably the 3 teams that are leading the way. But the thing I always think about now, you have 5 of the top 6 offensive teams in the country in the SEC. With those 3 teams I mentioned, Auburn, Florida, Alabama. You've got Missouri in there. You've got Kentucky in there. And I'm just like, are we going to see another team like that who did in Alabama, what Alabama did last year, where their offense is just so good that they go out and win some of these high-scoring games in a tournament-type setting? Or does it wind up being a defensive team like Tennessee, who's the best team in the country, yet at times their offense may be a little lackluster? I'm telling you, there's so many ways this could play out for the SEC this season, but I think you've got 3 teams right now, in my opinion, Auburn, Florida, and Alabama. Not to take anything away from Tennessee. They worry me a little bit offensively sometimes, but I think those 3, wouldn't be shocked if any of them are national champions.
Blake, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the Southeastern 16 and where they can find the program.
Yeah, appreciate it, Ryan. Yeah, find us on YouTube, Southeastern 16, daily SEC basketball stuff. Of course, we cover all the other sports too, but it's been a fun year in SEC basketball, so you can find us there, daily predictions. We do reaction, all sorts of stuff. Lots of fun, and you can follow me as well on Twitter at the Blake Lovell.
Blake Lovell of the Southeastern 16. Blake, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. We'll hopefully do it again right around tourney time. Appreciate it, pal.
Sounds great, Ryan. Thanks.
Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
And thank you to Blake Lovell of the Southeastern 16 for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Blake does a terrific job covering the SEC basketball. He's also covering every sport year-round on the Southeastern 16, but Blake is kind of known as the SEC basketball guy, and what a year it has been for the Southeastern Conference. Maybe the best year in the history of college basketball as far as one conference goes. They are going to challenge the record, I believe, of the 1991 Big East, who had the largest percentage of their teams in the NCAA tournament. I believe it was 7 out of the 9 Big East teams that year made the field. If the SEC gets 13 teams out of their 16 in, they would eclipse that mark. So we'll see what happens. But it has been a great year, and obviously it's been a ridiculous year for the Florida Gators. They had a good showing and a win on the road against LSU on Saturday. They'll be back on the road tomorrow night against Mike White and the Georgia Bulldogs up in Athens. Of course, you'll hear that game right here on 1010XL. And it looks like Alex Condon will probably play in that game, adding another vital piece and even more depth to an already very deep Gator basketball roster. So we certainly spent some time on that, but as you can imagine, by and large, it was a majority on the Jacksonville Jaguars today. They introduced James Gladstone officially at the press conference earlier at the Miller Electric Center as the brand new general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's right to work for Gladstone, Liam Cohen, Tony Baselli, and everybody with the Jaguars. They are off to Indianapolis for the scouting combine. The festivities up in Indy are already underway, and on-the-field workouts will begin on Thursday as the Combine is here, and now we are officially inside of 2 weeks away from NFL free agency. Well, that will just about do it. It has been a very busy Monday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. And Blake Lovell, the Southeastern 16. Always appreciate Blake for stopping by. Thank you to former Jaguar tight end Clay Harbor. Always enjoy talking Jaguar football with my buddy Clay Harbor, former tight end for your Jacksonville Jaguars. And back in hour number 1, the head coach, Dave Campo. Always Monday night coaching with Campo here on Hacker After Dark, as we talked about James Gladstone and we previewed the NFL Scouting Combine. Now, we will be back tomorrow night on a Tuesday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Monday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Monday evening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night on a Tuesday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Your golfing buddy.
I can't believe you're a professional golfer. I think you should be working at the snack bar.
Your drinking buddy.
Drinks are on me.
That's a good buddy.
Well, everyone knows that.
Joe C. Afternoons 2 to 4 on 1010XL.
Welcome, John.